You know, it helps if I put my mic on mute, off mute. Rachel, thanks so much for the introduction. And it's great to see everybody who's here today. And Don, I see you just joined, and Kristen and others, just great to see you. I'm excited to be able to share with you some of the trends that we're seeing on the digital and in the ministry and nonprofit space. I don't know if you're like me, but when I worked inside of a nonprofit, man, you're so busy doing the day-to-day thing that it's hard sometimes just to step out above the fray, take a survey of the landscape, see what's going on, and then be able to think about what is going on in the for-profit space that we can come back and apply to what we're doing in the ministry or in the nonprofit space. And so what I want to do for you today is be able to help cut through some of that clutter. Because sometimes you kind of feel like this. You feel like, man, there's so many different options. What exactly should I be doing? It can be so confusing. I'm also just going to let you know right up front, one of the trends that we're super excited about is personalization. And at 5Q, we've developed a personalization platform specifically for the ministry and nonprofit space. And so at the end of our presentation, I'm going to be giving a special offer for everybody who's on this, just on this presentation for you to consider. One of the ways that we find that we can stay above the fray, if you will, is to be able to see what is going on in the for-profit space. Every year for the last 22 years, I believe, Mary Meeker, who is with a VC, a venture capital firm out of San Diego, Kleiner Perkins, she releases the Internet Trends Report. And this is one of the reports that I religiously make sure that I review every year that she comes out with it, because there's always things that she's seen on the horizon as well as in the very near recent future, so we can see some of those trends. This year she had 294 slides in her presentation, and I'm not going to walk through all 294, but I have picked out about 30 of what I think is the best ones that I think is, as nonprofits, it's good for us to consider and ask the question, how can we be taking advantage of this? So the 5 different topics that we're going to be looking at is mobile, e-commerce, voice, digital acquisition, and personalization. So first, in the mobile front, this was a fascinating slide to me. This shows what is the attention span of people inside the United States, how much do they spend on media every day? And you can see from 2008 until last year, it's grown from 2.7 hours up to 5.9 hours per day that we're spending in the United States, that we're spending on media. Now, the interesting thing is that the desktop, when it hit 2011, the desktop basically went down, or it's leveled out. So where most, in fact, where all of the growth has come from has been in the mobile area. And the mobile devices that we use on a daily basis. So some of the implications for that, as you work in nonprofit, is just first, 5.9 hours is a crazy amount of time that we're spending each day in media. The biggest growth is in mobile. The majority of that growth is in Facebook and mobile games. And especially if you're inside of an organization that produces content that actually helps people, like a daily radio program or daily television program, the question that you need to be asking yourself is, what mind share does my ministry or does my organization own of that full 5.9 hours every day? And then what can you do to grow that mind share with your audience? In the mobile front, there's 2 other trends. We see how the usage of the mobile phone has grown. At the same time, the actual growth in terms of new smartphones being released has flattened out. And that was the shipments. This is new smartphones that are shipping. What that tells us is that the actual the market is starting to be fully penetrated with that. And so as you think about your mobile strategy, as that mobile growth is growing, it becomes more and more a part of the audience. Everybody's having one. I think there's 3 questions that as an organization, as a nonprofit, you need to make sure that you're asking. And these are basic questions, but they're still good for us to ask as it relates to our nonprofit. Number one, how does my website respond to a mobile device? And the technology that you want to use there is called responsive. It's been around for 7 years. So I would make the assumption, hopefully, that everybody on this call, all of your websites are already, they look good on a mobile device. Now, the second question is, do you need a mobile app? And again, mobile apps have been around a long time. Hopefully you've been asking these kinds of strategic questions. We like to think about it in terms of 3 questions to figure out whether or not you should build a mobile app. Number one, do we have great content that fits in a mobile device? Number two, are we really meeting real felt needs with the content, whether that video, audio, or the game that we're providing? Are we meeting something that people really want to be able to use? And then third is honoring the features of the phone. So, the phone has some of the unique features. They have the ability for audio or for camera, the video now with the facial ID with the new iPhones. Are there things that we can do with our content, the things that we have in our ministry or with our nonprofit organization that we can be able to use to take unique advantage of what things are coming on a mobile device? If the answer to those questions is no, then it's probably, any one of those questions is no, it's probably not wise for you to invest a lot of dollars into building a mobile app. If it is yes, then the next question you should ask is there a plug-and-play solution? And if you're in the ministry space, one really popular one out there, especially for churches, is the church app. Really low cost in terms of a low commitment and to be able to roll out your mobile app, but it gives you the ability to be able to provide content to your audience for a low monthly fee. So if there's a plug-and-play solution, do it. If there's not, then look at building a mobile app that makes sure it works across all devices, not just iPhone or not just Android. Next area we're going to look at is the area of e-commerce. Again, Mary Meeker really hits quite a bit on e-commerce, and we're also tying it to fundraising because that's really what is critical in the ministry and nonprofit space. So first, some trends in terms of digital currency. Coinbase, they're a company based in San Francisco. They broker exchanges of Bitcoin and other things like that. This digital currency is really emerging. You see a very kind of a hockey stick growth going right there. So as a nonprofit, what are the implications for us? I like to apply the 10% rule to emerging technologies like digital currency. That 10% rule is that if a technology hits 10%, then we should be investing in it. Especially when you're on limited budgets, like a ministry, like a nonprofit is. You don't want to be on the bleeding edge, but you don't want to be behind the edge either. And right now, 5% of Americans own Bitcoin. Now, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily using it to make regular transactions. They've purchased it. A lot of it is more of an investment kind of thing. But we're going to see more and more people using Bitcoin or Litecoin or other types of digital currency to be able to make transactions. And as more people do that, keep an eye on it. And when it gets close to 8, 9, 10%, you want to make sure that you're offering that option for your constituents, for your audience, to be able to donate using those new digital currencies. Next couple slides is around just the trends in e-commerce as it relates to retail sales. This slide says 13% of retail is actually coming in through e-commerce. That kind of begs the question, well, how does that relate to the nonprofit space? What percentage of my organization's donations are coming in through the online space? And so wanted to share with you just 2 graphics. This is from a study that Blackbot has done that shows the percentage of total fundraising online given by organization size. So you can see overall, the average is 7.6%. So if you have an organization, you're raising $1 million a year, and 7.6% of that on average is coming through the online mechanism. And then the other area of that is seeing the mobile side of that grow. The mobile side of that online, of that 7.6%, 21% is now coming through through your mobile devices, which also means that 80% is still coming through your website. So the implications for your organization, for your nonprofit, is one: do you have a gauge on what percentage of donations are coming to what percentage of your donations are coming online? So if you know if you're lower than 7.6%, you're behind what most nonprofits are. If you're ahead of that, that doesn't mean that you've necessarily conquered it. It just means that you're ahead of the curve as it relates to the averages. The other thing that we really encourage organizations to track isn't just the actual donation that's coming through, but also what is the percent of donors who first contact you online, who maybe first sign up for that email list, or first sign up to be able to watch an event online that you're providing. And if they've contacted you, if that's their source motivation, what are their donations? Even if they end up giving through the offline method, eventually through the mail, knowing what percentage of those donors whose source comes online is super valuable to know how much you should be spending in your online efforts to gain new people. This slide I found really fascinating. So in the e-commerce space, if you're searching for a product online, 49% of the people out there now start their product search on Amazon. I did not expect that. My own personal habits, I still start usually in Google or my search engine when I'm looking for a product. The other part of this is that if you start your product search in Google, you're usually going to end purchasing it in someplace other than Amazon. And if you start your product search in Amazon, your chances are you're going to actually purchase it from Amazon, which makes sense. So for nonprofits, lots of nonprofits that we serve sell products, which is a good thing. It augments a lot of things that they're doing. So the question is, what is your Amazon strategy? We know your revenue, your margins aren't as high your margins aren't as high when you sell it on Amazon, but at the same time, you could be losing 49% of your potential customers if, at the very least, if you're not listing your product on Amazon, and then if you're not doing specific things to help promote it on Amazon through some of the things that they offer. So carefully think through if you sell product as a nonprofit, what is your strategy for getting it out there in the Amazon market space? The next couple slides talks about some trends and kind of bringing two trends together. The first is the trend of subscription services. And you think of Amazon, kind of their primarily e-commerce, but then they rolled out their Amazon Prime. So they gave people a reason to be able to subscribe to their services, and really the significant growth that you can see year over year in their subscription services across the board with all these different companies. So that trend combined with the trend of lifelong learning, and this shows some of the top courses that Coursera has offered, which is more of a technology e-learning place, machine learning, some of those things. But then just the overall growth of learners that's happening. So that trend, the lifelong learning trend. So the question is, how as nonprofits are we able to take advantage of those two trends, of the subscription trend and the lifelong learning? And I'm just going to share one example. This is an organization, Revive Our Hearts. They just launched and are testing an online, a Facebook Live online Bible study. And so it's synchronous. So the primary teacher of Revive Our Hearts, Nancy DeMoss, is going to be leading this Bible study that anybody can sign up for. They are offering it this round as a donation of any amount, and with an end goal also of helping them to become a regular monthly donor of the ministry. And it starts August 14. So this is just one example of a nonprofit looking at those two trends and testing something. So they're testing Facebook Live, online study to be able to drive engagement for their audience. So just as you're looking, if you have content inside your nonprofit that can be a benefit to people, just test all matter of online training, test subscription, test webinars, test the gift of any amount versus paid, test asynchronous versus synchronous, which means in real time versus not in real time. Test all those things, because we know those two trends, the subscription and lifelong learner, nonprofits should be a prime place to be able to add and take advantage of those. This slide is probably the one slide I threw in here just because it really piqued my interest. I don't know that I have a specific application for the nonprofit space, but they make a case that Google started out as an ad platform, and they are moving to be a commerce platform with their ability to do Google home ordering, and the way that they link to different marketplaces out there. And Amazon is going the opposite direction. They started as a commerce platform, and they're shifting to an ad platform. And that ad platform, didn't put the slide in here in this deck. I can go get it if you have it. But their ad revenue in terms of sponsored products is just growing by a crazy amount in the last couple of years. So that's more of just an interesting trend. I'm not sure that I'm seeing a specific application for the nonprofit world right now, but that was interesting that I hadn't seen that before. Next is the area of voice. And when you think of voice, a lot of people think of the Amazon Echo, Alexa, as she's affectionately called in our home. So just a couple slides showing the trend here. One is the machine learning in terms of word accuracy continues to increase. So if you're an organization that does has a radio program or a television program or something like that, being able to automate the transcription of that and making that available on the internet is one great way. Now with the learning accuracy of things like Google machine learning, with that learning accuracy going up, there's really no reason why you can't be offering transcripts of your programs in a cost-effective way. And our organizations, we've seen huge increases in search engine rankings and search engines when you're providing content like that that's easy for the Google bots to be able to consume and for your audience to be able to interact with. So look at transcribing as a way to improve your reach in the digital space. And then in terms of the Amazon Echo, the way that its install base has been growing and the number of skills. I know our company has developed several skills, and our team members have developed several skills. Remember that slide I showed earlier that showed the 10% rule? When a technology gets to 10%, we should be strategizing how we can use it in our space. Right now, 16% of Americans own a smart speaker, if you will. 11% own Amazon Echo. The remaining own the Google Home. So if you offer content, audio content on a regular basis, like a podcast or those kind of things, right now the chances are people can find that on Alexa through things like TuneIn, but it's very cumbersome to get there. What you want to be doing is be able to make a skill that people can get directly to your content just by saying things like, Alexa, play the Dave Ramsey Show, or Alexa, play Renewing Your Mind, or the favorite in my household right now is Alexa, play Adventures in Odyssey. And so they don't have to jump through a lot of hoops. And so that's one area that our organization, 5Q, we've been developing for some organizations, just the ability to have their own Alexa skill. Next topic is around digital acquisition, such as ad buying and just growing your audience through the digital space. So just a first couple slides just showing how social is an important part of digital. It's driving product discovery and purchases. The other part is if you're doing anything local, it's hugely important that you have a social media component of that. I'll just give a brief example. We did an outreach where a number of organizations got together inside of our town for a one-time event. And we actually packed out that first night. It was standing room only, because we took advantage of social in our local space. So if you're doing any kind of local things, look at ways that you can be tapping, whether it's services like Nextdoor that's talked about here, or Facebook Local, Facebook Marketplace, which looks at the local things. All those things are an important piece of your outreach for local. A couple other trends. One is around the Facebook click-throughs. The ad engagement for Facebook continues to rise, as does the cost, but the ad engagement does continue to rise and is becoming more effective around Facebook. Also, the effectiveness is, while the effectiveness is continuing to rise, so is the cost. And so we're seeing an actual reducing in the ROI in digital channels. And so it's really important that you're selective in the digital channels that you're spending. Here's another example, just showing the amount of dollars that's being spent in internet advertising. Just continues to grow, particularly in the mobile space, in the mobile space, just continues to grow and grow over the last few years. For nonprofits, if you are not taking advantage of the Google ad grants, if you qualify, you really should be. Google provides $10,000 per month of free advertising, and simple online process to be able to apply for that. And if you qualify, and you have to be a registered 501c3 to be able to qualify, so education organizations and government organizations don't count. That is just one really easy win that every nonprofit should have been doing for years now. And we've also been seeing in the digital acquisition that we do for our organizations, it's really right now it's a healthy mix of Facebook, retargeting, which is those ads that you see when you visit one site and then it shows up on another site. And so the retargeting is really proving to be effective right now. And then Google Ads, a healthy mix of those three things, you'll be able to increase the number of folks that you have connecting with your organization. Two, I'm going to say metrics that we see in the for-profit space a lot, and that's the first metric is LTV, the lifetime value of a customer, and the other is the CAC or CAC or customer acquisition cost. And those are becoming more and more important for an organization to understand how effective their advertising budget is doing for nonprofits. We want to encourage nonprofits to think about the lifetime value of your constituent. So when a constituent comes on, how much do they donate over the course of their lifetime? And then the constituent acquisition cost, how much does it cost to be able to gain that new constituent? And if you know those two numbers, that will give you a metric to know how much is it worth spending on not just the digital ad spends that you're doing and to be able to gain new constituents, but also your offline. So if you know those two things, your lifetime value and your how much is it costing you to gain those constituents, you'll be able to make wise decisions about where to redirect and direct your advertising dollars to gain those new constituents. The last topic we wanted to look at is around personalization. This really floored me. Of the slide deck, I mentioned this is Mary Meeker, presents this every year. Of the 294 slides that was in her slide deck, 34 of them, which represents over 11%, were about personalization. And if there is one word that you saw just over and over and over through that whole deck, was personalization this, personalization that. And I'm just going to fly through a few examples of that. First, just kind of starting it off, is that data improves engagement plus experiences. It also drives growth and it drives scrutiny, like what we saw with the Europeans rolling out their new privacy policies, and we're going to continue to see the same here in the United States. But personalization is that data improves the engagement and experiences, and we're seeing that in a big way in the nonprofit space as well. The first is the area around just personalizing your interaction through messaging, both consumer and enterprise. They mentioned intercom. For our company, we've actually adopted Drift, which allows you to automate those personalized interactions. And I would encourage every nonprofit to explore what would it look like to add something like intercom or something like Drift to your website. The reason being, if a person has a question, either about what you do, they can contact you in real time and you can have that conversation. With Drift specifically, if there's specific questions that people are continuing to ask, you can write an automated experience so that they can be asking those questions and they can have that answer in real time. And when they get to the end and they have a question that a real person needs to be able to answer, they can just jump right on and continue that conversation. So really, in terms of advancing the mission of what you do, something like Drift or Intercom really would encourage organizations to test those. Other is around data-driven personalization, just seeing how the growth has been in the customer satisfaction with this different data. The data-driven personalization leads to customer satisfaction, and that's kind of the theme of all these different slides. And this one's looking from the e-commerce space. This one's looking at it from the social side of things. All these things is around how personalization is making the experience for the end user more and more effective and increasing. They're saying that the data-driven personalization and recommendations is still in the early innings, so we're still seeing the start of it. We really believe that's the case with the nonprofit space. That's why we spent a year building a personalization platform specifically for nonprofits. And like I mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, personalization is one of the topics that we're super excited about. Our product Journey is the one that does that. I'm just going to share a couple results and a few of the organizations that are using Journey right now, and then we have an offer for you that is just for those who are attending today's webinar. So how can Journey help? I'm just going to give a quick example. This is a website, typical website. You come to a website and they offer a subscribe to our question of the week. So when a person subscribes to that, what do they usually see when they come back tomorrow, the next day? Well, they see the same box being asked of the same thing. They say subscribe to our question. And one of two things will happen. Either that visitor will be thinking, oh, man, don't they understand me? I just subscribed yesterday. Why are you asking me to do this again? Or like most folks in the nonprofit space, they're going to be very forgiving, and that just becomes a blank space to them, like ad blindness. They don't even see it. So it's placed on your website that's like lost real estate. People don't even see that anymore because they've already used it. So what if you could, after they've signed up, the next day they come back, we already know that they're subscribers, so we don't ask them that. Instead, we drive them to content that's really meaningful to your mission. So maybe in this case, it's watch a video. Or the next time they come back, we know that they have some of their interests now by this point, so we can personalize and make a pitch for them to consider making a donation to the organization. So all in that one space where they first signed up, then we can feed them content, and then the next time they come back, we can actually encourage them to make a donation. Some of the results that we've seen using personalization, whether it's embedded in a website or a pop-up like this here, we've seen organizations increase their giving by $13,000 a month, and or more, just based on the volume of traffic. And with this organization, they were specifically asking only people who have a deep engagement with the organization. So if you come for the first time, you'll never get asked. But when they hit a certain threshold, they see, yes, this person's engaged with the organization, then they'll make an ask, encourage them to make a donation. They've added $13,000 a month just in using personalization on their website. Another one, This organization tied it to some offline campaigns, and they were able to add 45,000 in 30 days that came directly through their personalization efforts. So we know personalization works. And as we've looked at these different trends of mobile, of voice, of digital acquisition, and e-commerce and personalization, we're excited about the direction that things are going with technology, and we're really excited around that personalization trend. And we want to offer today that if for each person that signs up for the demo of learning more about Journity, if you sign up for the demo today, we're going to offer your first month of Journity for free. And you can find more about Journity at the website, journey.com. But I'd encourage you today just to go out and sign up for the demo. So we're going to take questions. If anybody has questions in the limited time that we have, feel free to drop those in, and Rachel will ask those, and we'll entertain any questions that you have about the data that we looked at today.
Any questions at all, go ahead and put them in that Q&A box at the bottom, or you can put them in the chat too if that's easier for you.
All right, going once, going twice. If folks don't have any questions, we are going to be making this available, and if you've attended, we'll be sending out the slide deck, so you'll be able to get these slides and you can review them. And then Rachel, if you want to introduce our next webinar we'll be doing.
Sure thing. Yeah, so our next webinar will be 2 weeks from today on August 23rd, same time at noon. It is titled Preparing for Year-End Giving, and it will be presented by Revive Our Hearts and some of the digital and year-end giving trends that they've noticed, and excitement about getting ready for that year-end giving. And we're super excited about it. We will be sending out emails to invite you all, so please join us for that, and we hope to see you then.
Thanks everybody for attending. You all have a great day. Take care.